Hey guys, before the video begins, I just want to say I'm sorry for the audio quality. My microphone was on the wrong setting the entire time, and I did the entire video in one take, so it is what it is. I don't think it's the worst, but it's definitely not the best, so I just wanted to tell you guys up front. So sorry about that.
And I am here to do the devil's work.
Today, I'm going to give you my 2 cents on one of the most desired fights between two horror characters that has ever been out there, that people have been waiting for forever, but can really never happen because both characters are owned by different studios, and whenever you get different studios owning characters, they can never come to a consensus or an agreement on how to use them in movies because the script has to be double checked by people on both sides, and both characters have to be the same amount of strength, and they have to have the same amount of screen time, and usually like the same amount of dialogue, but we're dealing with two characters that don't even speak, so I guess that one's out. But regardless, wherever the rights are of the movies right now, maybe someday in the future, I don't know, A24 wants to get its hands on Halloween. I don't really know how it's going to work out, so maybe someday out there in the future, studios can come to some kind of agreement and we'll actually get this. But the reason I feel like this one is brought up so much is because there are a lot of similarities between Michael and Jason. There's also a lot of differences, especially when you go in terms of storyline and lore and everything. But they are both super strong, masked killers that do not speak and usually kill people with a sharp implement like a machete or a butcher knife or just whatever they happen to have on hand at the time. Sometimes just their hands. But regardless, this is a fight that people want. This is a fight that people talk about, and until they make a movie about it or until they are able to do a comic book series or anything out there, it's all just left to speculation and headcanon. So today, I'm going to give you mine. So right here, we have the whiteboard with Michael Myers versus Jason Voorhees, and I'm going to break this down in a couple of different ways. I'm going to try to use references and examples from the films, but I actually don't even know who will eventually come out on top as far as me doing this. This is something that I'm going to do live for you guys right now to try to figure out. Now, in general, obviously, Jason Voorhees is physically stronger in general, but we have a lot of different attributes that go into a fight to make it a unique and interesting fight. Also, there is a lot of different timelines when you consider, especially Michael Myers. Jason really only has one solid timeline plus the remake timeline, but Michael Myers has the original timeline, which is Halloween 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. It has the H2O timeline, which is 1, 2, H2O, and Resurrection. It has the new timeline, which is the first one, 2018, Kills and Ends. And it has the remakes of Rob Zombie 1 and 2. And then Halloween 3 is just off there in the ether, just handing out masks to children and killing them in a bunch of brutal ways. And it's a pretty great movie, but it's not going to be considered here. Whereas Jason has one solid timeline, but there is different versions of Jason because you can consider Jason in part 2, 3, and 4 to be relatively human, or at least weaker than he is in part 6, 7, 8. And then in part 9, you know, listen, just watch my retrospective. I don't want to get back into that, but you know, Demon Worm Jason, and then you have Jason X Jason. So there's a lot of different varieties. So when you go with Jason versus Michael, you can't just do it as a blanket statement. You got to say specifically what version of the characters are you having fight one another. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I decided I'm going to do things in 2 ways. Number one is I'm going to pick specific versions of the characters, and I'm going to try to make it as equal as possible. And number 2 is I have these categories when it comes to fights: the strength category, speed category, intelligence category, experience category, and recovery/endurance category. So regenerative powers, able to get up after, you know, being hit by really devastating blows, that kind of thing. So these are the categories. So we're going to go through each fight, and I'm going to mark a character that gets the category in that fight. And whoever has the most amount in these categories by the time the video is over is who I'm going to declare the ultimate winner. Now, we also have to decide what versions of the characters to have fight. Well, we could just go movie by movie, but we don't want this video to be an hour long. So I'm going to pick 3 different fights, okay? And that also makes it so you could see who would be the victor 2 out of 3 times. So you could also determine it like that. And so when it comes to that, it's like, What 3 versions, if you can only go with 3 versions for a Michael versus Jason fight, who do you pick? Well, I think that the most obvious one is you have to pick their first appearances, right? The very original incarnations of the characters, I think, is a very important matchup. So that's what I'm going to go with first. So the first fight is going to be the original versions. Now, when it comes to Michael Myers, pretty simple, just the first Halloween movie, just John Carpenter's Halloween, first film, that's what we're going to go with. So we're going to go with Halloween, just the first one. With Jason, it's a little bit trickier because in the first Friday the 13th, Jason is not the killer. His mom is, but you do see Jason as some sort of dream zombie child at the end. We're not going to do that. We're going to do the first actual Jason. So the first Jason that was the killer. So we're going to do Friday the 13th Part 2 Jason, okay? So Halloween 1 Michael versus Friday 2 Jason. Because I think that's the first like real incarnation of the character. I know he doesn't get the hockey mask till Part 3, but I think that Part 2 pretty much establishes Jason Voorhees as a character, as the killer. It creates a lot of dynamics about him having his mom's severed head and like, you know, all of those sort of things. It also goes into more lore than the other ones do, kind of assuming that Jason survived in the woods this whole time and he's like out there and he's feral and all that stuff. So that makes sense. We'll do the first versions of the characters. Then I think it's only fair that we do what would be considered the most powerful versions of the characters. Now, obviously, Jason is going to be more physically powerful, but we do have the other categories to consider. But I think it's still important to pick the strongest version seen in films. The problem with that is, I think with Jason, it's fairly obvious. With Jason, the strongest version of Jason we've ever seen is Uber Jason from Jason X, right? So Uber Jason is definitely the strongest version of Jason we've seen. But the strongest version of Michael Myers is kind of left up, like, there's a lot of ambiguity with Michael Myers. It's kind of left up to interpretation. A lot of people would probably point to the Michael Myers in Part 4, 5, and 6, you know, the Thorn Cult version of Michael, who is extremely powerful. But then in the new movies, they also showed Halloween Kills Michael, in that movie, Halloween Kills, to be ridiculously strong. Like, he's holding up like multiple firefighters. He's tanking blows. He kills an entire angry mob of people, and they all have various weapons. They got knives, they got guns, they got everything, and he's just taking them out no problem. But then the movie completely fucks that over in the next film, and Halloween Ends, just making him like a weak, feeble old man. So I never really understood like what they were trying to interpret Michael as in the new movies. Like, in some cases, he's super strong. He crushes that dude's head like a watermelon with his foot, but then he also can't fight off Corey in the sewer. I don't know what's going on. So because of the inconsistency, it's a little bit difficult. But I still think that in the movie Halloween Kills, specifically, I think that pretty much is the strongest that Michael's been on screen, at least in display of his feats. Like, able to take on an entire mob just by himself, able to kill all of those fighters, and also nobody gets anything on Michael that entire movie. Like, he just goes around dominating, and the movie lives up to its title. So I'm going to go Halloween Kills for the strongest Michael Myers. And you may disagree, but this is just my headcanon. And I think when it comes to a fight between Jason and Michael, it's all headcanon anyways. This is just for fun. So, you know what? It's not that serious. Like, it's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's going to be fine. Trust me. I still love you. It's fine. All right. And for the third and final match that we're going to do, I think that it's fair to do the remake versions of the characters. Both franchises have had a remake. We had Rob Zombie's Halloween, and we also had the 2009 Friday the 13th film, which kind of brings Jason back to being a human, but makes him incredibly strong. Rob Zombie's version of Michael Myers is also ridiculously strong. So we're going to do the remakes for our third fight. Okay, so for the first match, we have the original Halloween, the first interpretation of Michael Myers, versus the first interpretation of Jason in Friday the 13th Part 2. And we're going to go through the categories. So strength-wise, in this category, I do think they are fairly equal. We do see Michael Myers be able to lift somebody up one-handed and then stab him to a wall with a butcher knife. Dude, the amount of force that you would actually need to stab through somebody's body and impale them to the wall to the point where they're hanging to the wall just by the knife, incredibly strong. Jason in Part 2, his first interpretation, also incredibly strong. He can dive a screwdriver into somebody's forehead, into somebody's temple fairly easily. He's able to impale through two people's bodies at once with a spear. He's able to hit somebody with the back of a machete and have that stab into their face. Both very, very strong characters. This one's a little bit difficult to kind of determine who would actually be stronger in this situation. However, I will give the edge to Jason simply because if we're going by the lore that Jason is somebody that is surviving in the wilderness by himself, he had to build that shack by himself, assumingly he's killing animals to eat by himself. He's doing all these survival skills, whereas Michael hasn't had as much of a chance to kind of display his skills like that. He's been sitting in an asylum for 15 years. So I'm going to go the first one, strength, to Jason. For the speed category in the first version, now this one's really interesting because part 2 of Friday the 13th is one of the only movies where you see Jason run. I noticed that you see Jason run a lot more when he's a human as opposed to when he becomes zombie Jason later on. Michael Myers is pretty slow in the first one, or at least he doesn't care to walk. There's a scene where he's following Laurie Strode across the street and she's running and screaming, and he shows no enthusiasm to get to her at all. He's just kind of like taking a leisurely stroll. So I'm honestly going to say, again, with surviving in the woods, being able to survive in the wilderness, I'm going to say that Jason also takes the speed category in the first round. Now, when it comes to intelligence, I don't think that there's any doubt here that it's going to be Michael Myers. Michael was able to sit very patiently in an asylum waiting for the perfect moment to break out. Michael Myers is capable of driving a car even though nobody's ever taught him. And when it comes to Jason, I mean, all some girl had to do was put on his mom's sweater and he was tricked momentarily into believing that that was his mom, or at least thinking it was his mom. So you could pull that deceptive trick with Jason. I don't think you'd be able to do the same with Michael. So intelligence goes to Michael. Next up is experience. Experience here, again, I'm going to have to go with Jason because Michael did spend 15 years of his life in an asylum. The only experience he has killing people is his sister in the beginning of the movie when he's a kid. And then later on, he kills a couple of teenagers. Jason, again, been surviving in the woods this entire time. That is, you can only have experience doing that. So that one has to go Jason as well. Now, recovery and endurance. Okay, so this one's a little bit trickier because in the first movies, Jason, he gets hit a bunch of times. Michael gets hit a bunch of times. I know Michael gets the clothes hanger in the eye. He gets stabbed in the neck and that kind of stuff. But Jason, I'm going to say in part 2, does not have the same amount of recovery. My examples are going to be this. Because in part 2, Jason gets kicked in the nuts. And that is able to momentarily subdue him. He gets kicked in the nuts. So you can kick Jason in the nuts, and it sets him back a little bit. I don't think that if you kicked Michael Myers in the nuts in the first Halloween that he would care at all. I don't think he would have a reaction. He gets stabbed in the neck and stabbed in the eye with a coat hanger. Both those things, pretty damn painful. Let's not to mention the fact he gets shot 6 times. I shot him 6 times. And gets immediately back up. Jason gets hit with a machete, again, knocks him out for quite some time. Sure, he comes back maybe if the end's a dream. If it's not a dream, I don't know. But I think Michael, in the first movie, takes way more damage. So that one goes to Michael. So as far as the first fight is concerned, Jason has 3 in the categories. Michael has 2. So ultimately, Jason is going to win in the first fight. Second fight. All right, we are going with the strongest versions of the characters. So I'm choosing Michael from Halloween Kills. That's just what I think is the strongest. And Uber Jason from Jason X. I don't think anybody can deny that Uber Jason is the strongest because it's zombie Jason taken over by fucking nanobots. And now all of a sudden he's a goddamn half robot Lord Zed looking motherfucker. So definitely the strongest version of Jason. It's not, dude. We don't even have to. Jason takes the strength, obviously. Jason's also going to take the speed here because he's enhanced by fucking nanobots. That's it. He goes into space and he falls to the earth like a comet. That's pretty fast. Now in the intelligence category, once again, we got to go with Michael Myers because Jason, he's on a spaceship. He probably doesn't even realize he's on a spaceship. He doesn't know what's going on. He's in a hologram. He's killing things in there. He doesn't know what's real, what's not real. He gets sent back to, they make the hologram of Crystal Lake, the camp setting. He pretty much just believes he's there. Michael Myers in Halloween Kills, again, he's had like 40 years to think about this. Capable of driving cars, capable of sneaking around, and getting people when they least expect it. So Michael is definitely the more intelligent one here. When it comes to experience, In this case, I'm going to have to go with Jason once more because this is a Jason that is canonically all one series. So this is the Jason with the experience from everything from Friday the 13th Part 1 all the way up to Jason X. This is a Jason that has fought Freddy Krueger. This is a Jason that has gone to hell and came back. This is a Jason that went on a cruise to New York City. This is a Jason that's been through everything. Michael Myers, if you go by the 2018 canon, literally sat in an asylum for 40 more years after escaping the first time, and this is the first night of experience he's gotten in a long time. So Jason gets this category. Next, for recovery time and endurance, Jason is enhanced by fucking nanobots, dude. So it's clear from the second fight that no matter how you cut it, Jason wins. And also, since that's 2 Jason wins, if you go for 2 out of 3, looks like Jason is winning the entire matchup. But let's just go through the third round and see what happened. All right, so now we're going to do the remake versions of the characters. This one's a little bit interesting because the remake version of Michael Myers could also probably arguably be like one of the strongest versions of the character. Tyler Mane played Michael Myers. He has an extremely physically imposing presence. Also, the amount of feats that he's able to do, and to even get that big and large to begin with. I mean, he's in an asylum all this time, and he goes from like a chunky little kid to like a massive, like, bodybuilder type character. Insane. And then if you count Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which let's not do that. The remake Jason is not as strong as Uber Jason or Zombie Jason, but they do take an interesting approach as, again, a guy that's human, that's been surviving in the woods this entire time, able to, create these traps in order to lure people in. He's able to navigate underneath, tunnels of the camp and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a smarter Jason than usual. So let's see how these characters stack up. For strength this time, I think that they're pretty comparable. I don't really know how to quantify who is stronger here because, you know what? I might say Michael Myers, and here's why. Here's why Michael wins this specific strength category is because he was shot at the end of the movie point blank in the face and does end up surviving. Jason in the remake is, hit with the machete and stuff, but like, a machete to the chest of somebody who's super jacked, has a lot of muscle to defend it, versus somebody getting shot in the face. There's obviously something supernatural going on. So in this category, in this specific fight, I actually think Michael is stronger. So it looks like in all categories, Jason has the highest speed because Jason in the remake is actually very tactical. He's running around like a survivalist, like a Rambo type character. He's very agile, right? Whereas Michael Myers in the remake pretty much just moves how you expect Michael Myers to move, right? He's pretty much that slow stalking character, but Jason in the remake, extremely agile and tactical, so he gets the speed. For intelligence in the remake versions, this one's a little bit tough for me too, because the reason is Jason in the remake is pretty intelligent and might be one of the most intelligent versions of Jason we've seen simply because he has this ability of foresight. He's able to set up traps. He's able to think about things ahead of time. He's able to use a lot of unique weaponry that you don't really see him using. Like, I don't think original Jason, would have used a bow and arrow the way that Jason in the remake uses it. Also, Michael Myers in the remake, well, you could say he has a little bit of a less intelligence because he's, seeing visions of his mom. Of course, that's Halloween 2, but like, it just doesn't seem like Michael is quite as intelligent in the remakes as he is in the original version. So this one's kind of tough. It is really weird to say Jason is more intelligent than Michael, but in the remake versions, that might be true. Coming down to experience, once again, we do have Jason that has been living in the woods this entire time since childhood, and you do have a Michael that, once again, because of the storyline and plotline, has to be in that asylum for a long time, not getting experience in there. Sure, he has experience making masks, but not exactly a lot of experience killing people at that point, so Jason once again. Now, when it comes to recovery and endurance, in the remake timeline, like I said, I don't think that Michael Myers is out of commission as long as Jason is. After Jason gets hit with the machete, he's out until the end of the movie where they throw him in the lake. Michael Myers, again, gets shot in the face. He gets shot a bunch of times. 6 times! He gets shot 6 times again! And he comes back. So recovery time and endurance, enhanced by the evil within him. I don't know what it is, but Michael Myers gets it once again. Michael Myers gets 5 points. Jason Voorhees gets 10. So I think it's pretty unanimous. Jason Voorhees, no matter what version you choose, is probably going to win the fight. However, it would be a fun match no matter what. And also, this is just my headcanon. This isn't serious. This is just for fun. So what do you guys think, man? Do you think Jason or do you think Michael? What versions would you put up against one another? Who would win? And why do you think so? So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think down below. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I honestly thought Michael was going to get more. I'm trying to be very unbiased. Very unbiased, you know? I like the Halloween series a little bit more, but nothing I can do about the facts, man. So let me know what you guys think down below. Leave your thoughts, theories, comments, opinions. Who do you think would win and why? And if we ever see a movie, what do you think like the storyline would be? Why would they fight? I mean, I guess all you have to do is put Michael in Crystal Lake somehow and they'll fight. So I don't know. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'll talk to you later.